The arena is a sea of energy as the lights dim and the crowd buzzes with anticipation. The electric atmosphere is palpable, with fans from around the world eagerly awaiting the highly anticipated showdown between two of the sport's most skilled grapplers, Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev. The air is thick with excitement, a blend of admiration for both fighters' unblemished records and their shared connection as training partners and teammates under the legendary coach, Javier Mendez. The walkouts begin. Khabib, the undefeated former lightweight champion, strides confidently toward the cage. His eyes are focused, but his demeanor is calm and unwavering. His long black trunks and the familiar red warrior shirt draped over his shoulders are symbolic of his Russian heritage. The crowd erupts as his name is called, but Khabib remains as stoic as ever, his mind already in the fight. His walkout song plays in the background, but Khabib's silence and focused energy make it clear that this is business. A quiet resolve surrounds him as he enters the cage, his presence dominating the space. On the other side, Islam Makhachev's walkout is greeted with an enthusiastic cheer from the crowd. Makhachev, the young and talented protege of Khabib, has earned his reputation with a flawless record and an equally impeccable style, one rooted deeply in sambo and a well-rounded, efficient game. Unlike Khabib's reserved demeanor, Islam has an aura of controlled intensity about him. He walks with a slight smile, exuding confidence and humility in equal measure, knowing the significance of this fight, a battle to prove who is the true successor to Khabib's throne. Islam steps into the cage with a measured pace, acknowledging the fans with a nod, but his eyes never leave his opponent. The energy is electric as the two fighters square off, and the stage is set. The referee's instructions are simple and clear. He reminds both men to fight clean, protect themselves at all times, and respect the rules. There's an air of mutual respect between the fighters, but there's no mistaking the gravity of this matchup. Both have the same goals, but only one can claim the title of top lightweight in the world. The tension builds as the referee signals for the opening bell. Round 1, the calm before the storm. As the bell rings, both Khabib and Islam step forward, exchanging wary glances. The crowd is deafening, but both fighters block out the noise, their focus absolute. Khabib, as always, stays light on his feet, waiting for the right opportunity to pressure. Islam, while similar in style to Khabib, brings a more measured approach. He knows Khabib's grappling is a force to be reckoned with, so he's ready for the inevitable clash in the clinch. Islam begins with a solid jab, testing Khabib's distance. Khabib reacts immediately, closing the gap, but Islam expertly counters with a quick right hook, a sign that he's going to give Khabib a different look than he's used to. Islam's striking is sharp, crisp, and technical, reflecting the evolution of his game under Khabib's tutelage. Khabib's defense is ever so slightly more reactive, waiting for his moment to press forward, close the distance, and impose his will. The first few exchanges are tactical, with both fighters measuring their range. Khabib tries to get Islam to react, but Islam stays composed, using his footwork to avoid any significant strikes. Around 2 minutes in, Khabib's trademark pressure starts to show. He shoots for a double leg, aiming to bring Islam to the canvas. Islam sprawls effortlessly, using his long frame to keep Khabib at bay. Islam counters with a knee to Khabib's midsection as they separate. The crowd cheers for Islam's defense, but Khabib remains unfazed, coming forward again with his relentless forward motion. The first round is a chess match, with Islam showing excellent takedown defense and Khabib's patience shining through. They exchange a few jabs, with Khabib landing a few short, sharp punches to Islam's head. It's clear that Khabib wants to engage in the clinch, but Islam's range and footwork are making it difficult for him to close in. As the round nears its end, Khabib lands a brief, but clean, right hand that momentarily stuns Islam. Islam's eyes sharpen, and he fires back with a quick jab to Khabib's chin, demonstrating that he's not intimidated by the pressure. The round ends with a tense silence from the crowd, the fighters briefly meeting in the center of the cage before retreating to their corners. Round 2, pressure builds. Round 2, pressure builds. Round 2 begins with Khabib more aggressive than before, his forward pressure intensifying. He knows he has to make the fight uncomfortable for Islam, and he does just that. Islam is forced to use his footwork, evading Khabib's constant pursuit. Khabib shoots for another takedown, and this time, Islam reacts quickly, sprawling and attempting to reverse position. The two exchange a flurry of strikes as Khabib attempts to control Islam against the cage. The crowd roars with each back and forth exchange, sensing that this battle is starting to heat up. Khabib is relentless, pressing Islam with a series of short punches to the body, attempting to wear him down. Islam, however, responds with sharp, quick counters, including a knee to Khabib's body that lands just below the ribcage. The impact seems to momentarily slow Khabib, but Islam doesn't capitalize. Khabib's legendary toughness is on full display as he powers forward, landing a clean left hook as he moves into the clinch. It's clear that Khabib is trying to control the pace of the fight, bringing the action into a grinding, dirty boxing battle along the cage. Islam, despite being able to fend off the takedown so far, is starting to show some wear. Khabib is like a relentless tide, never giving Islam the space he needs to breathe. The round ends with Khabib landing a few more strikes in the clinch, and Islam retreating to his corner, appearing slightly more fatigued than before. Round 3, testing the mental game. By round 3, it's evident that both fighters are adjusting to each other's style. Khabib has begun to impose his physicality more, while Islam has found a rhythm with his striking, landing jabs and leg kicks to keep Khabib at bay. However, as the round progresses, the pressure from Khabib seems to start wearing on Islam. He's still moving well, but his energy is clearly starting to dip, and Khabib sees this as an opportunity to press harder. Khabib closes the distance once again and lands a brutal right hand to Islam's body, pushing Islam back against the cage. The crowd erupts, sensing the shift in momentum. Islam clinches up with Khabib, but the Russian wrestler drives his knee into Islam's midsection, forcing him to break. As the fighters separate, Khabib moves in quickly, attempting a takedown again. Islam sprawls, but this time Khabib uses his head position to trip Islam's leg, taking him to the mat for the first time in the fight. The crowd roars as Khabib establishes control, working from the top. Islam works quickly from his back, attempting to secure guard and push Khabib away with his legs, but Khabib's pressure is suffocating. He lands short elbows to Islam's face as he looks to transition into a more dominant position. Islam manages to scramble back to his feet, but the toll from Khabib's constant pressure is becoming evident. Islam looks to reset, but Khabib is already in his face again, closing the distance with a heavy clinch. As the round draws to a close, Islam starts to show signs of frustration, while Khabib's confidence grows. The bell rings, and Khabib returns to his corner, appearing more composed and determined than ever. Islam, on the other hand, looks like he's beginning to doubt whether he can withstand the storm that Khabib has unleashed. The tension is high as the fighters await the fourth round, and while the fight is far from over, it's clear that Khabib has gained a slight edge. However, Islam's ability to adapt and find a way out of difficult positions could shift the momentum at any moment, setting the stage for a thrilling continuation. As the bell rings for round 4, both fighters step out of their corners with visible signs of fatigue. Khabib's relentless pace has clearly had an effect on Islam, but the young Dagestani is still far from out of the fight. His face, once calm, now carries the slight sheen of sweat, and his breathing is heavier than before. Khabib, meanwhile, is showing no signs of slowing down, but even he can't escape the accumulation of punches, knees, and the ceaseless forward pressure that has defined his game thus far. The round starts with both fighters maintaining a slower, more calculated pace. Islam is working his jab more effectively now, trying to keep Khabib at bay with long-range strikes. He knows that he can't let Khabib close the distance without paying a price, so he's trying to use his footwork to keep moving in and out of range. Khabib, however, seems unfazed by the reach disadvantage, staying low and moving forward like a storm. Every time Islam throws a jab, Khabib parries and presses forward with a level of intensity that Islam can't avoid. About 2 minutes into the round, Islam lands a sharp leg kick that finds its mark on Khabib's lead leg, temporarily stalling his forward momentum. The crowd roars as Khabib limps slightly, but he quickly recovers, showing just how tough he is. Still, it's a sign that Islam is adapting, and his striking is beginning to have a more significant impact. Khabib's pressure isn't as suffocating as before, and Islam uses that small window to land a clean right hook as Khabib moves in, his first truly clean shot in several rounds. Khabib, undeterred, charges forward again, closing the distance and clinching with Islam. Islam's defensive wrestling has been superb up until now, but Khabib's relentless clinch game is still a major weapon. Khabib traps Islam against the cage and begins working his signature dirty boxing, landing short hooks to the body and head. Islam, however, manages to land a sharp knee to Khabib's stomach, breaking free momentarily. The two fighters separate, both breathing heavily, their faces showing the toll the fight has taken so far. Islam takes a moment to reset, circling around the outside of the cage and pumping out jabs to keep Khabib at bay. Khabib's head is constantly on a swivel, looking for any opening to close the distance. The crowd is electric, waiting for something to happen, and they don't have to wait long. Midway through the round, Khabib shoots for a takedown again, but this time, Islam defends better than he has before. Islam sprawling his legs back and attempting to stuff Khabib's attempt. But Khabib, ever relentless, uses his strength and technique to push forward, clinching Islam against the cage and landing a brutal uppercut that lands flush on Islam's chin. The shot stuns Islam momentarily, and Khabib senses the shift in momentum. For a moment, the fight appears to be slipping away from Islam. Khabib, capitalizing on Islam's momentary lapse, immediately clinches again, working Islam to the cage. However, Islam recovers quicker than expected, landing a beautifully timed knee to Khabib's head as they come together in the clinch. The knee forces Khabib to back off briefly, and Islam takes advantage of the space to land a few jabs, regaining his rhythm. Both men are showing the effects of the fight now, with visible bruises and swelling. Khabib's pace has started to slow, while Islam's composure is beginning to return. He lands a clean body kick to Khabib, who winces but continues forward. Khabib tries to press with more intensity, but Islam uses a series of well-timed head movement and footwork to avoid the worst of the exchanges. With the round winding down, Islam lands another clean shot, a left hook that connects just as Khabib comes forward. This marks a shift in momentum, with Islam seizing a few key moments and starting to outmaneuver Khabib in the stand-up. As the round ends, both fighters retreat to their corners, each taking a deep breath. Khabib's usual dominance in the grappling exchanges has been slowed, and Islam seems to have found a way to prevent the takedown attempts from overwhelming him. Islam's face shows some fatigue, but there's a renewed sense of confidence in his eyes, while Khabib's demeanor is a little more serious, reflecting that he might need to change his approach. Round 5, the tipping point. Round 5 begins with both fighters exchanging glances, clearly understanding what's at stake. The crowd's excitement is palpable, as the fight has become a back-and-forth war. Khabib, seeing that his grappling isn't as effective as it once was, opens the round with a more aggressive approach, throwing a combination of strikes to test Islam's defenses. Islam responds with his own straight punches, staying composed under pressure, but Khabib begins to crowd him more, pushing Islam toward the cage once again. Islam's earlier momentum seems to have fizzled out. He tries to circle away, but Khabib is right on him, throwing heavy hooks to the body and head. Khabib shoots for a takedown, and this time, Islam is briefly caught off guard. Khabib secures the takedown and brings Islam to the ground, but Islam's defensive grappling remains sharp. Islam immediately works for a butterfly hook to regain position, trying to scramble back to his feet, but Khabib has top control. For a moment, it looks like Khabib might secure full mount, but Islam defends admirably, escaping back to his guard. Khabib works from the top, landing short elbows and hammer fists to Islam's head, but Islam does well to defend and move, preventing Khabib from advancing his position further. The crowd's excitement reaches a fever pitch as Islam tries to work his way back up, using his hips to shrimp away from Khabib's pressure. Just as Khabib looks to pass guard, Islam scrambles and catches Khabib in a guillotine choke, locking it in tight. The crowd gasps, and for a moment, it looks like Islam might finish it right there. Khabib, however, shows his iron will and strength, lifting Islam off the ground and shaking off the choke. Islam's face shows signs of frustration, but Khabib's relentlessness is clear as ever. With a powerful slam, Khabib brings Islam back to the mat, solidifying control for the remainder of the round. The bell rings, and both fighters are visibly tired but determined. Islam had his chance to finish the fight, but Khabib's composure and strength once again shine through, leaving the outcome of the fight still very much in the air as the final stretch approaches. Round 6, Clash of Wills. Round 6 begins with both fighters looking battle-worn but still very much in the fight. Islam, his confidence slightly shaken by the close call with the guillotine choke, begins circling more aggressively, using his footwork to move in and out. Khabib, now recognizing Islam's striking defense as one of the keys to his success, doubles down on his clinch game, aiming to wear Islam down. For the first time in the fight, Islam successfully keeps Khabib from landing any significant shots in the clinch. Islam ducks under a hook, sidesteps Khabib's forward pressure, and lands a clean right hook to Khabib's jaw. The shot wobbles Khabib slightly, and the crowd erupts, sensing that Islam might have found his rhythm. But Khabib is a seasoned veteran, and Islam's moment of success is short-lived. Khabib shoots for another takedown, this time mixing it up with a level change, and Islam, though successful in defending many takedowns, can't stop this one. Khabib takes him down once again, landing in half guard. The round becomes a grind, with Islam trying to escape and Khabib controlling him with his pressure, not allowing him the space to move. Islam attempts a sweep, but Khabib's base is too strong. Khabib begins landing small but significant strikes from top control, gradually draining Islam's energy. As the round ends, Islam is visibly fatigued, and Khabib's calmness and relentless style appear to have taken the upper hand once again. The fight remains incredibly close, and both fighters know that it could be anyone's game in the final stretch. As the bell rings for round 8, both Khabib and Islam rise from their corners, each showing the wear and tear of an intense battle. Their eyes meet across the cage, and there's a silent understanding that the final stretch of this grueling fight will determine everything. The crowd is on edge, the energy in the arena palpable as the fighters step forward, knowing that each of them has given so much of themselves already. Khabib's pace has slowed, and Islam, though fatigued, still carries the spark of his striking, the one aspect of his game that's been consistently effective. Khabib, sensing Islam's momentary dip in energy, charges forward with relentless pressure, his eyes focused on closing the distance. Islam, realizing the danger, tries to keep the distance, circling away, using his jab and footwork to create space. But Khabib is relentless, inching closer every time, moving forward like a tidal wave. Then, a sudden change in momentum, Khabib attempts a takedown, but Islam, perhaps showing signs of desperation, sprawls expertly and defends it. The crowd roars as Islam successfully defends the takedown, a testament to his evolving skills. The two exchange rapid strikes, and Islam lands a clean left hook to Khabib's temple. Khabib's head snaps back slightly, and for the first time in the fight, he's staggered. The arena erupts in excitement. For a moment, the crowd believes that Islam may have Khabib on the ropes. He presses forward, sensing an opportunity. Islam lands another straight right that connects cleanly, and Khabib's defense is slightly looser than usual. It's a dramatic shift, a sign that Khabib may be slowing, that the relentless pressure is starting to wear on him. But Khabib, ever the champion, absorbs the shots and continues forward, his heart and will unyielding. Islam's fatigue begins to show, and Khabib capitalizes on a slight mistake, a hesitation in Islam's footwork. Khabib closes the distance in an instant, landing a crushing hook to Islam's body, followed by a clean uppercut. The uppercut lands flush, and Islam's knees wobble, his eyes dazed. Khabib doesn't let up. He clinches, trapping Islam against the cage, and begins working his trademark dirty boxing, landing short, punishing strikes to Islam's ribs and head. Islam is desperately trying to defend, but Khabib's pressure is overwhelming. The crowd is on its feet, screaming, as Khabib continues to dig into Islam's midsection with vicious body shots. Islam, however, proves his resilience. He fights through the pain, pushing off the cage and creating just enough space to land a swift knee to Khabib's chest. It doesn't do much to stop Khabib, but it buys Islam enough time to reset and recover slightly. The fight is far from over. Khabib, bloodied and exhausted, is relentless, chasing Islam around the cage with a predator's intensity. Round 8 ends with both men battered, each fighter showing signs of wear and fatigue. Khabib heads back to his corner, his face a mask of determination. Islam, on the other hand, is still in the fight, though he's feeling the cumulative toll of Khabib's pressure. Both fighters take deep breaths, knowing that the last 2 rounds could determine everything. As round 9 begins, the intensity is palpable. The crowd is electric, their energy pushing both fighters to dig deeper than they ever have. Islam, still wobbling from the damage, tries to avoid Khabib's pressure, but Khabib is on him like a shadow. Islam lands a quick jab to Khabib's chin, but Khabib absorbs it and continues forward. Then, with almost surgical precision, Khabib closes the distance again, lifting Islam off the ground and slamming him back into the cage. Islam tries to scramble, using his hips to escape, but Khabib's control is suffocating. The crowd roars as Khabib works for a submission, attempting to sink in a choke. Islam, though visibly hurt, defends with everything he has, his hands desperately pushing at Khabib's arms to prevent the finish. The fight is reaching its boiling point, and the commentary team can barely contain their excitement. Every moment could be the last. With just over a minute left in round 9, Islam manages to break free from the choke attempt, but Khabib isn't done. He transitions smoothly into a dominant position, landing ground and pound from the top. Islam's face is battered, his nose leaking blood, but he doesn't give up. He fights with every ounce of his being to regain control. Islam scrambles, landing a couple of strikes from the bottom, but Khabib's pressure doesn't let up. Round 9 ends with both men bruised and exhausted. The arena is electric, with everyone on the edge of their seats. It's clear that both fighters have left everything in the cage, but one of them must emerge victorious. Round 10 begins, and the tension in the arena is almost unbearable. This is the final round, the last chance for both fighters to secure their legacy. Khabib comes out with a renewed ferocity, knowing that he's been one step away from victory all fight long. Islam, though clearly fatigued, still has that spark in his eyes. The will to win is evident. The round starts with Khabib immediately closing the distance, as expected. Islam, still wobbling from the damage, tries to keep moving, but Khabib's strikes are starting to land cleaner. A left hook from Khabib connects with Islam's temple, and Islam stumbles back, his legs buckling. The crowd goes wild as they sense the end may be near. Khabib doesn't hesitate. He closes the gap and clinches Islam again. Islam's defense is slower, more labored. He tries to fight back, but Khabib is simply too strong, too relentless. The two exchange in the clinch, each man landing shots, but Khabib's punches are more precise, more damaging. A clean uppercut from Khabib lands and shakes Islam to his core. Islam's hands drop, and Khabib senses the finish. With less than 2 minutes left in the fight, Khabib takes Islam down once again, securing full mount. The crowd roars as Khabib begins to rain down punches and elbows. Islam tries to escape, but Khabib's control is too overwhelming. It's clear now Khabib is seconds away from victory. The referee watches closely, and Islam, battered and exhausted, tries to defend, but Khabib's ground and pound is relentless. Finally, after a series of punishing blows, the referee steps in and stops the fight. Khabib has done it. The crowd erupts into cheers as Khabib stands up, his face a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. He raises his arms, acknowledging the support of the fans who have witnessed one of the most grueling battles in MMA history. Islam, though defeated, rises slowly, nodding in respect to Khabib. He's exhausted, bruised, but proud of the war he's just been through. In the post-fight interview, Khabib is emotional, his humility evident as he speaks about his respect for Islam and how much this fight meant to him. He thanks his team, his family, and his fans. Islam, though disappointed, shows respect as well, acknowledging Khabib's dominance and promising to return stronger next time. The fight will go down as one of the most epic battles in MMA history, showcasing not just the incredible skill and heart of both fighters, but the spirit of competition that defines the sport. For Khabib, it's another notch on his legacy, and for Islam, it's a reminder that even in defeat, there's always room to grow and evolve. The future remains bright for both men, and fans eagerly await the next chapter in their journey. As the lights dim in the arena, the crowd continues to cheer, and the fighters leave the cage tired, victorious, and humbled by the challenge they just overcame.